Hey, welcome everybody. It's Thursday. What time is it, Leandro?
It's 3:03.
Time for Thursday training. Glad you're here. I hope we get some new people. Listen, this thing, we are finishing up today. Some of you are like, praise the Lord, we're finishing it up. Some of you are like, oh man, I wish there were more. But for everybody, we're probably finishing this up today. We'll maybe select a new book for next week. But I think last week we set a precedent in that we invited new people to come. Hopefully we do. I don't know if you are new aboard, maybe Roger Lewis, I'm not sure. And Tammy. Okay, great. So listen, you guys, some of the faces you see on here are some of our top reps. So this would be a great opportunity. You got me. I know some stuff, don't know a lot of stuff. They know a lot of stuff and not some stuff. So I think between the two of us, or all of us, not two of us, all of us, we can certainly answer some questions and be very, very relevant and pertain to the everyday need. And then if there are questions, let's just say this, Beatrice, if there's questions that go on for an hour, then that's what we do. But if there are no questions, then we do this, right? Either way, it's a Leandro, I've hedged my bet. We're hedged. Risk mitigation factors are engaged. We need not worry ourselves. We can rest assured, Leandro, you and I. It's pleasing, isn't it?
It is.
It just invokes a peace. All right, here we go. Vivian's trying to get on. Man, I'm telling you, if you guys got questions, now'd be the time to answer. We got some good people on the call right now.
I have a question.
Miss Beatrice, yes, ma'am.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I'm trying to call on, not trying, but I'm calling on some accounts for wholesale, and I'm not getting the success I want. So I need to do something different. Is there anyone on the call who's had success with wholesale? One is my doctor. The other is a running shoe place that really would be perfect for CBD. They have upscale shoes, and those are the main two. And the third one was a physical therapist.
Okay, so let's do this, Beatrice. Pick one of the three. The one probably you have the best recollection of the actual conversation or communication that was had. And let's kind of walk through that communication together, okay? And then let's see if I can see some things that maybe we can all learn from and grow from. Go ahead. So which of the three are you going to choose?
The one with the best potential, it's called St. Pete Running Shoe.
Okay. So tell me about your interaction. I'll sit back and listen, and you just kind of give me the summary of how you met them and how things started and where they are now.
Okay, I went in to get some shoes because I had a problem with my feet. I couldn't walk the beach, and they are just amazing. Right. I got great shoes, developed great relationship. I thought they would be a perfect fit for CBD BioCare. They have some CBD products in the store, but they're not moving. They don't get support. The owners are a young couple like you and Stacy. Local, perfect customer care. So I talked to them about it. I talked to the staff, got all the information. I wrote the owner an email. They told me to write her an email. I did. And she didn't follow up. And I kept going in and following up, kept going in. Finally, she sent me an email. She said she couldn't carry CBD because there was another CBD company in her shopping center. So I went by early one morning to see them, and they had moved. So I went back in the office the other day to their store and told her, they're no longer there. And at least I didn't talk to her because she's never there. I talked to her staff. So he said he would give her the message and give her my card. So I've called on her several times, and I don't think she would use that as an excuse. I think she really thought they were there. So this is where I am now. I just left the card. When was it? Day before yesterday.
So okay, awesome. Thank you very much. I'm just going to kind of wordsmith this out with you. So when you went there in the beginning, you recognize that they already had CBD products? Did I understand that correct? But they carry them currently?
Right. They had a few tucked in the back where nobody could see them. The lady said they're really not moving. And in fact, when I went in the last time, all the CBD products were gone. And I don't know if the owner sent them back thinking that there was a CBD company in her shopping center. Because what she told me in the email, once she gets rid of the supply she has now, she's going to refer all of her customers to this place. I guess that's what they do in this little shop. But those people are not there. They've gone out of business. It's called Purity CBD.
Mm-hmm. So the question I would have asked, and I don't know if you did or not, is I see you carry CBD. Why do you carry it?
No, I didn't ask that. That's a good
No,
question.
I know but that's where everything's going to start and end, because the answer to that question is going to give you the lead to the next question, which is, well, I know it's a hot market. And if that happened, my next question would be, yes, you're absolutely right. We're learning about this. It takes energy to properly communicate and put ourselves on the right side of human behavior. So telling someone that they're correct about something is always a good thing. So, hey, you're absolutely right. It is a booming market. Have you ever tried it? The best answer they could give you, Beatrice, would be, I use it. It changed my life. And then you work from that. That's wonderful. I use it too. You find common ground. It changed my life, which is why I joined this company, which is why I do what I do. Would you like to see more people benefit like you benefited? And she's going to say yes. So saying that, I imagine you're disappointed that the CBD isn't moving off the shelf. So I'm just hypothesizing, and I can hypothesize in another direction in just a moment. And, the idea would be, yeah, well, it helped me. And I wish more of my clients, understanding the business that you described to me, right? Their customer service is great. They got great products. That means they care, because you have to work to actually sell good products and give good customer service. It costs more and it takes more energy. So if you find a company that's doing that, that tells me a lot about them. There's a lot I can infer. Now, granted, it's an inference, but that's okay. Until we know, we can be educated guessers. So if that's the case, then I would ask, why do you think it's not selling? If it did such a great job for you, what do you think the reason is? And here's the real kind of hidden meaning behind that, is we have to learn how to be quiet and let them answer it. Because I think there's like a fruit fly flying around. So if I do this in the middle of everything, I'm not crazy. There is a legitimate, see? Oh, I thought I had him. So let's say, have you ever used the product? Well, no, let's follow this. Well, what do you think the reasons are? Well, I don't know. And listen, we're going to go over this. If we have time, if we don't, we'll do it next week. It's no big deal. But we're going to go over how to communicate with people even today. Like, instead of saying, hey, you got it way there in the back, there's no way anybody's going to see it. That would be one approach, right? Like, hey, based on my experience, where you have it is wrong. Well, we know through our study of this book and human behavior, telling people they're wrong isn't a good thing. So, you ask questions like you're leading it, and one of the lessons in here today is let it be someone else's idea. So it's like, hey, do you think if it were up closer that more people would see it? Yeah, and then they decide that that's their idea. Yes, I do believe that. Let's just, again, I know I'm hypothesizing, and I can go, you guys can say, hey, I want you to hypothesize down this thought pattern, and I will go down it. So I'm not choosing it. It's just the one that came to mind. But it's if you get them, so why do you think it's not selling all that well? Well, I just don't think a lot of people know about it. Boom. There. Now we know, in this scenario, we know the owner uses it and likes it. We know that they carry it and not selling it. And we know that they have a reason why it's not selling. So how can we then help them get where they want to go? The natural thing to me would be like, do you think, instead of going, hey, here's what you need me to come in and do an educational seminar so that people, your clients and your customers know about CBD. Instead of that, like, do you think it would help or be advantageous if I came in free of charge? I'm passionate about this, and just did maybe a 10 or 15 minute talk about what CBD is, and maybe get you to stand up and talk about the what you've received from it. You think that would help? And that's kind of the approach. It's not, and not that, Beatrice, you have that, nothing that I heard you say was wrong at all. So this isn't a, hey, you need to, but the more we read books like this, there are a ton of them that are just like it. This the same principles. I mean, the human condition is the human condition. There are subtle variations of how people interpret the human condition, but at its core, with very little with very little difference, there's so many similarities. And we know that people are standoffish when they're approached. I like the fact, here's what you did right, Beatrice, is you had communication and response from these people. We used to do the hot seat all the time. It's like, I just can't get these people to respond. So once we get them to respond, then it's about, and I've mentioned the book a lot of times. I think it's written by, in fact, I know it's written by Jack Canfield. called the Aladdin Factor. And the purpose of the premise of the Aladdin Factor book is, you know, the kind of the overall theme is that the quality of our lives are going to a certain degree depend on the quality of questions we ask. And that is definitely true in influence and leadership. It's like, you don't know where to go until you know where to go. And I could do a 4-hour training, and I could take statements from each one of you all and point out multiple assumptions that we make in our everyday thought process. And so there's a lot of assumptions we can make when we're interacting with people. And if we don't govern that, and we don't ask questions, because the answers to the questions that we ask are the answers serve as a competing voice to our assumptions. And it makes us better. And we don't have to assume. Now we know. Now we have to be alert. So in this instance, Beatrice, a lot of things going for you. You have a place that obviously cares about their customers. They care about quality. They actually carry CBD, right? So all those things are going for you. So there's a lot of bait there for me. Like, I got a lot to put on a hook, right? And the first one would be, I see you carry CBD. Can you tell me why you decided to put that in your store? And then again, when we ask those questions, and I'm not talking to any one person. I trained sales for 20 years. I did it. Why did you carry CBD? Did you use it and find that it worked for you? Did you have a customer? We want to furnish them with answers, right? Instead of getting their organic answer. And I got to be honest, if I'm not mentally lazy, but I'm an opportunist. So if somebody gives me, you know, hey, why this? And they give me a viable reason, whether it's the main reason or not. Yep, that's it. And I do it subconsciously. It's not like I'm trying to be a jerk or, oh, I got you. It's just, you know, there's some certain subconscious things that we do, right? It's like, if you go to a fast food store, they give you small, medium, and large. Why? And they price the medium in a different metric. My buddy's a Chick-fil-A operator, and they will tell you that they price the medium at a different metric. It's a little bit more profitable. Why? Because the human condition is going to go, B, I'll take the medium. Oh, it's always in the middle. Leandro, you expose yourself. Hey, everybody. Leandro gets a large every time, while the bulk of Americans get a medium. Sorry. I had to do it, man. I'm so sorry. Oh, if we don't make it, look at Tanja's like, oh, what's going on? Oh, hell, did I get in the wrong meeting? What's going on here? Oh, this is good for me. I told you I'm struggling a little bit physically. So laughter is the ultimate. All right. So any other, I'm not even picking up the book. Beatrice, that was awesome. Any other, first of all, we'll stick with you. Do you want to run through another hypothetical with that shoe store owner? I would say, you know, your best bet, here's my thing. And I don't know, we don't have enough time for me to get down to what exactly how I would say this theme. But the theme that I have, after a certain period of time, and you may say, well, Pitts, how long is that time? There is no system-driven time. I think we know it through the interactions we have with people. Sometimes we have a deeper interaction with people and we get further faster, right? We go deeper faster. Sometimes it's like tick, 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 and it just takes a while. But there comes a point where, and it's an old, if any old salespeople ever heard of Sandler Sales Systems? Sandler Sales Systems was my buddy's dad, Todd. You remember Todd who worked here? His dad was a Sandler Sales Systems franchisee in Orlando, Florida. And so I was very well versed. I love the presentation, man. It was pretty cool. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. They take their shoes off and their belt off and they lay it up, and it's all it's all based on human condition, right? They're doing little things just to tap into human condition along the way. Like we talked about last week, like getting people to say yes, right? It primes the pump. There's just something that happens there. And the Sandler Sales System indicates, and I may not agree with the entire platform, but I definitely agree with this point, in that the worst answer for a salesperson is a maybe. Salespeople, typically, human beings, I guess I should say typically, they would say or think that the worst answer you get is a no, right? Because I don't want to be rejected. That's humanistic. Remember we talked about, we're egotistical. We believe my son is 14. He's maturing at a very rapid rate. And I would say somewhere within the last 4 months, he's starting to realize that the world doesn't revolve around him, right? And he's a smart, mature 14-year-old. So it's proof positive that we are brought into this world with certain real tendencies. There's exceptions to every rule, don't get me wrong, but there's real tendencies that we have. And so when we begin to work with people, if we understand those tendencies, Leandro, it gives us a better outlook, right? It gives us a better look on how to approach people. But in the Sandler sales system, the maybe is the worst answer because it's time consuming. It's resource consuming. I'll be back. Hey, come back. Hey, leave me your card. Come back. Hey, tick your calendar. Hey, this and that. That's great. It's not great. In our old business, all things being equal, right? Because there's different business models and everything, but I'm just talking in concept. In our old business, there was always a progression of growth with someone. When they first come in, they would make dials and not be able to make appointments. They would sit waitress in what we call the hot seat. And we would do it once a week. And it was a 2 to 3 hour session, depending on how many people wanted to engage. They had to volunteer. And then they would share conversations that they were having on the phone. And we would counsel them just like I did you. Hey, did you ask this? Hey, maybe in this spot saying that would have generated a better response. And they do just what you do. Hey, yeah, I'll try that. And then so we get them to where then they can make appointments. But then they got appointments and then they go and they're getting no-showed a lot, right? Because they're insecure, they're not closing it down. And at the end of the day, because of their insecurity of being new, they didn't respect their own time. They didn't respect themselves yet. So certainly no one on the other side is going to respect you if you don't respect yourself. And it's a process, right? You'd be like, oh, I don't respect myself today. Well, tomorrow I will. No, it takes, you gotta develop, you gotta practice, and activity breeds activity, but activity also breeds confidence. So if you're lacking confidence in anything in life, and I'm no guru, but I'm telling you it works, be active. If you're lacking activity in your life, be active. If you get up and you send out 100 emails, and I'm not talking about spam, I'm talking about 100 thoughtful emails or make 100 thoughtful calls, you don't think you're going to get some activity coming back? So activity definitely breeds activity, and activity breeds confidence, which is a whole nother discussion. Like, we're having a lot of people get out of their comfort zone. And some people on here have done a fantastic job of doing those little 30 or 1 minute lives where they're talking about a product. As much as I am respectful, and I love the people who do it, the percentage of people who will do that is so small, Leandro. Like, I don't want to do it. It's called call reluctance or video reluctance or camera reluctance or public reluctance, whatever that is. And in the Sandler sales world, swinging all the way back around, the very best answer is a yes. The next best answer is no. Go find a new prospect, right? That's the model. It's like, I get it. Like, I don't believe in the 100% of the premise of that sales model, which doesn't mean it doesn't work for people. I mean, there's a butt for every seat. Just for my personality, some of it contradicted with it. But I'm telling you, I think the idea of now, what do we have to get out of our comfort zone, be willing to be rejected, right? Because a maybe is easier on the ego. Would everybody agree with that? A maybe is easier on the ego than a no. So if we want these three things to happen, what's the common denominator? What do we have to be comfortable getting out of our comfort zone, to being available to fail or face adversity, willing, and then to be willing to take rejection and to hear a no? What one component among probably others, but there's at least one that is synonymous and must be present for any of those three activities to happen with purpose or effectiveness? I'm going to try to be like Vivian. Vivian, I know you're a teacher, so I imagine you're comfortable with long periods of silence. As a teacher and a coach, I want to mature that in me, because part of me is like, I can tell you, but I want to give everybody a chance to think. And there's no wrong answer. Get out of your comfort zone and speak an answer. You're in the nest. Mm-hmm. This is the trust tree.
Self-confidence.
Self-confidence. Self-worth. Folks, I told you, for those of you who've been around, Dana Boyd will probably, or throw a hand up and say an amen. I say this all the time. I can almost tie just about any problem in somebody's life back to a self-worth issue. And it's okay. Listen, I tell you guys all the time, don't take my word for anything. I want you to test me. I want you to test information. If you think that there's a condition or a problem that someone has right now outside of a physical, come on, y'all. You know what I'm talking about. But an issue, a sociological issue that I can't tie. Now, it may not be 100%, but there's going to be a component that goes to self-worth. So if we agree on that, at least at some level, maybe not even, I'm 85% with you, Pitts. All right, we can move on. What do we need to do to increase that? That's where the hands are, Leandro. Like, you know, at Vatris, what we're doing, we're talking about, hey, you're in the box talking to a wholesaler. They're pitching. I'm trying to tell, you know, we're talking about where that bat meets the ball. How do we change the impact in the box? Let's talk about in the on-deck circle. What are we thinking about? What's our approach? In the on-deck circle, that's where we build self-esteem. That's where we build self-worth. That's where we read and we develop, we get active, we associate with right people, right? We talked about all those things. So if those things don't happen on deck, if you're not mentally right when you step into that box, it doesn't matter, right? And this is not pertaining to you at all, Vatris, but let's say we have somebody who, hey man, they're just, you know, God love them. They're desperate. They're at the end of their rope and they're just trying to pay a bill and they don't really care about people. They're trying to go make a sale for the dollar. I'm not saying that person's a bad person. All I'm saying is that person has a much less chance of succeeding because they're not mentally right. The approach isn't right. The hands aren't in the right spot, or we're not in balance. We're not thinking right. We're not using our mind, right? If the guy just threw me 3 curveballs that were balls, I'm probably going to be looking for a strike right here. See, when I talk about hitting a baseball, so many people, and you know, I mean, you guys have heard this ad nauseum. We think about where the bat meets the ball. That's just a human condition. But there's a whole life before that. What about before the batters? What about the on-deck circle? What about when the batter's sitting in the dugout? What about when that baseball player is not playing baseball? Is he disciplined in getting up and doing his drills and going to practice? All that, there's this whole body of work that has to happen, at least in the right mindset or the right genre, to put ourselves even in a position to maybe strike the ball. And we know sales and we know numbers. And if you go on 10 appointments, you're not going to make 10 sales. But why don't we think about that? If we know, all right, oh man, Leandro, I'm going to have to calm down here. I can feel my blood pressure rising right now. If we know that failure, if we know that adversity, if we know that that perfection's unattainable, we know we're going to make mistakes. We know that God closes doors that we want to open as much as possible. Yet our human condition causes us to be frustrated at every one of them, scared even of fear, scared of rejection. When we know for a fact that if this is failure, adversity, rejection, trial, whatever you want to call it, and we're traveling along our life, when we meet with this adversity, our human condition is to go around it. And where do you think the saying, grass is always greener on the other side? Hey, my job's getting tough. I'm 8 months in. You know, now I know the person next to me is not as cool as I thought they were. Now I know that I really don't love getting up at 6:30 in the morning when I did. These things start wearing on us. And if we're not ready, willing, and able, and understand, we already understand, we just don't act on it. I do it all the time. I'm not above you guys. I do it all the time. I got my adversity, and there are times when I call it embrace the suck. You know it's going to suck. Embrace it. I got to get back in the gym. I had a back issue for a month. Then I got a head issue because I'm scared to go in the gym because I don't want to go through what I went through a month because it was miserable. But I got to do it. And you know what? I know it's going to suck. I know I'm going to be sore. I know I'm going to be weak. And I know that there's this period where you really start working out and you haven't for a while. And I believe, I'm no doctor, but I believe that the muscle pulls away from the fat and makes me look more fat.
It does.
Like now I'm sore. I'm working my butt off and actually worse than when I started. I got more side boob now than when I started. So if we know it's going to suck, it's going to be painful, it's going to hurt in this analogy of getting back into working out, then why don't I just embrace it? Instead of sitting back and looking at the weight going, oh God, it's like, you know what, it's going to suck. I'm going to go get it. And just, get over myself, right? It's just me. So listen, success is not just on the other side of failure and adversity. It is, but it's not just. There's only one way to get there, and that's right through it, because it's here that we grow. If we stay comfortable, we ain't growing. Think about the potter and the clay. Man, that clay doesn't look very happy. It looks painful, molding and turning and churning and changing the shape and making it into something more beautiful. It's a painful experience. And I've trained sales for 20 years, and I'm not frustrated at a person. I'm frustrated at our human condition, because I've seen the most talented people in the world. And I mean, I could cry thinking of this. Some of the most brilliant, talented people in the world never got out of the blocks because they were scared to fail. Because their ego was too big. Like they were too big in this other world, and now they can't come back and humble themselves. And you know, there's an old coach, and some of you guys know I shouldn't use sports references because I don't know that it relates to so many people. There's an old coach named John Wooden. He was a UCLA basketball coach. Coach Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I mean, just probably the greatest basketball coach ever. A lot would say, and if you got there early in the morning, you would find that man dusting his own basketball floor. He was a servant. He was an amazing guy, and he humbled himself by engaging in janitorial services as the most acclaimed basketball coach in the world. This guy showed up early so that he could mop the, the big Swiffers, when they go back around, so he could do that to his floor. And he served his people, and he was just an amazing guy. And I just feel like that humility can be lost. And so when I talked about the guys and the gals that I've known that were just so talented and just couldn't translate that into a success, it always came down to a reluctance to fail, a reluctance to look stupid, a reluctance to feel uncomfortable, a reluctance for pain or embarrassment. And I've got to tell you that it's those very things that serve as our hurdles to success. And you might hear me say hurdle, like, oh, it's a hurdle. Hey, praise God that we have something we can get over to get better, right? It's not easy. And I used to have, and I got to shut up, man. I used to have these guys, man, they made so much money, and I was so careful, and I always have been, and I still am. And I recommend to everybody, be very careful with whom you associate. Be very careful with whom you associate. It does not take long. It's almost like making A's and then you make an F. It has a real impact on your grade. It's almost like always making good money and then not making good money. It's like things happen really fast. And when we're around people that step on our dreams or make us feel less than who we are, it has a bigger impact on us. And I think we can all understand that because we've talked about the fragility of the ego and the human spirit. And you could be spoken into and built up by so many people and have one person in your life that is a constant drain or a negative. I would honestly, guys, I would get rid of those people. Get around people that are successful where you want to be. I never really cared about the amount of money that a person made. I really cared about the type of money they made. And so I was associated with these guys that made really, really, and gals that made really, really big money. And you know what they always used to tell me when I was sitting in the audience dreaming, young man, they said, it's harder than hell. Not because you're in a coal mine working 18 hours. I don't mean that kind of hard. It's hard because you're battling your own intuition and you're battling your own tendencies. They said, but I guarantee you it is worth it. And I'm telling you here, I don't have the kind of money those dudes had. These guys had jets and stuff. But I'm telling you, it's worth it. It is so worth it. I mean, to know, guys, you have heard my story about being broker than a joker, literally having my buddies show up and give me a tank of gas, or I wouldn't have made it. And I was in my late 30s at that time, or mid 30s. That's humiliating. I mean, it's just humiliating. But the reality is that we go through those times. And it's, why I didn't have gas? Because I had run 8 appointments all over Central Florida that day trying to make a sale. You know how many sales I made that day? 0. So I'm coming back after a whole day of running around the entire state. I'm coming back in home. I'm 5 miles from the house. I sputter into a gas station. My car doesn't work. And praise God, he sent my best buddy, Bill, out of nowhere. I look up and Bill goes, hey, man, how you doing? And I go, oh, hey. And he must have seen a look on my face. And he's like, is everything okay? And I go, my card's not working. And he goes, let me buy you a tank of gas. And I'll never forget that moment, not only for my buddy Bill, but in the sovereign way in which he just showed up there. And by the way, Bill, you have to, everyone should have a friend like Bill. nobody other than Stacy and my kids want more from me than my friend Bill. You need to get around people that want for you. And I know every one of you, you don't have to say a word, but if you got haters in your life, just give me this. Everybody's got haters. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. If you got haters, that's a good thing. You ain't got no haters, you ain't doing nothing. You ain't got no convictions. So all I'm saying is me being in that spot, me having, it really, the only thing I could think that I did right was I had the faith that I was going to leave that day and make a sale. And I didn't. And I ended up there. And now I end up in this place where I'm humbled. And I realized, at least from my faith, that there's always an answer. And it may not be my answer, but that moment changed me. It gave me more faith in what I was doing. It's like, okay, there's no way I saw I was getting home today. Once I knew my car didn't work, I mean, it hit me like, I'm not getting home. And then I realized then that I don't have all the answers, that I just need to go and do what I know I can do. And, a book in a book says, worry not about the problems for tomorrow, for today has its own. And I think we should all be there. It's that 3-foot rule, where that mountain climber 3-foot rule. All right, golly, Leandro, I gotta change things, man. I just get going. Look at me. I actually have perspiration here.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody.
GB, how you doing, baby?
I'm going to chime. Good. I'm going to chime in and just want to say thanks to everybody for your prayers and love. It feels good to be back. I'm not 100% back yet, but definitely feeling a lot better. That's for sure. Got my energy back, my appetite back, which is nice. Still can't smell and still can't taste, which is a little strange, but I'm sure it'll come back.
This would be a time. This would be a great time to enjoy Indian food. Like go to the falafel king, because you can't taste anything anyway. You'd be like,
yeah, doesn't matter that I don't. I have acid reflux too, so I still got to watch it. So, yeah. But I just want to say,
no falafel, no falafel.
It's crazy. But it's been a blessing. All the prayers and everybody, it's like you say, I keep the faith. I pray to God every day, and I just put my sickness into His hands. I didn't let it fear me, and just like with CBD, when you go out into the world to try to sell or talk to somebody, make that communication. Don't be afraid. Have faith in not just your God, but have faith in yourself. Believe in yourself. And just because you can go out 100 times and get rejection doesn't mean you're and someone's going to turn you down. It doesn't make you a failure. It's just certain ways that don't work, and you just got to say, hey, what can I change this? How can I change this? And each scenario is going to present itself. I mean, every like Beatrice said, you walk into some place, and you talk to somebody so many times, and you really spend all that time, trying to educate them. But sometimes, it's just everybody is different in every situation. Sometimes you can walk in and someone's going to have a bad day, but don't judge that person just because of that one moment. That's why you got to keep coming back, because you just don't know what kind of day they might be having. So, and eventually you're going to build that relationship, because to me, that's what it's about. It's not just selling CBD. It's about building a relationship, because you want these people to not just be educated, but know that they can trust in you, what you're selling, what you believe in. So yeah, I just wanted to chime in and give my little 2 cents like I always do. And
thanks, buddy.
And for all the newbies out there, I just want to say welcome to the team. Take advantage of the Facebook page that we have, the group. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask a question, because there's no such thing as a dumb question. Because believe me, I don't have all the answers, but but that's what makes this group awesome, is because we have a variety of different people and knowledge from different ways, especially Dana and Todd, and just so many people that have been out here for so long. And it's great these Mondays and Thursday Zooms, because you see a lot of familiar faces every week, which is great. So I want to thank everybody out there, and a big shout out to Dana. Sorry. I love you, girl.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you for your authenticity.
And I'm going to leave it at that. So thanks.
And that's what it's all about, right? I was thinking when you said, GB, if you leave, make a sale, it's okay. The easy scenario to think about is when we have a new salesperson or somebody who just started, right? Either here or anywhere. And they go out and they pitch it 3 or 4 times in a day, and they don't make a sale, and they come back disappointed. And one of the things that I always try to do is encourage them in that their perception of what of the greatest value of those meetings is wrong. I know that they want to make a sale. Of course, everybody does, right? We want to, that's the reward for the work. Take the money out of it. That's the scoreboard. So it's completely normal. I would never decry anybody for being disappointed for not, achieving their expectation. But I do try to re-educate them on a proper expectation, because in those scenarios, when a person's new and or a person's struggling and not making sales, it traditionally does, going through those experiences,
You learn from it.
so many
You learn
value
from
points,
it.
right? I mean, because the more you say it, the better you're more confident. There's so many self-developmental pluses. I mean, huge pluses. I mean, the fact that a new person would go pitch it at all gets them out of their comfort zone. I mean, there's so many lights that are being fired off here. And I think that's what people miss. So I want to even take it to a larger scale. That's the analogy. And listen, I don't care if you're a person of no faith, if you're Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, Jewish, it doesn't matter. But if you believe that there's something bigger than yourself in any way, shape, form, or capacity, then can't we believe that maybe we're there for a different reason than selling CBD? And can't you believe that I certainly do with the God that I pray to, that if I honor his will and I go do because I'm there and it's a result of hard work and honest effort, and I end up where I'm supposed to be, and I have the pure heart, I'm learning as I go, I'm not getting the expectation that I think should happen. But how silly is that? When we know, so if we go in, and I know this is to some of the people that watch this, I acknowledge in 20 years of training, some people are going to go, that's pretty corny. I don't know. I get that. Again, we all have haters, right? But when you go in and the prayer is, the hope is to whoever your upline is, right? That's a good way of saying it. Whoever your upline is. My upline is Jesus. Whoever your upline is, if the prayer should be, use me as a vessel to accomplish your will here. And I know there are going to be some people that don't have a faith that aren't going to get that. There's another way to approach it. This is the only way. I'm just talking to people. I'm just talking about me. That's just how I think. And if we take our own selfish motivations out of things, now when I say selfish motivations, that drives us to where we're supposed to be. I think a selfish motivation for somebody to want more money and end up here at CBD BioCare and be here and be a part of this association and this development group, I think all that is providential, right? So but when we make it bigger than that, like maybe I'm not here at CBD BioCare, and listen, I'm just hypothesizing. I don't want to kill any dreams right now. Maybe I'm not here to make $1 million. Maybe I'm here just to change a few lives. Maybe I'm here just to get this one training. Maybe I'm here just to meet this one person. So when and again, that's just an example. When we think like that, as opposed to so pinpointed on a result that we think should happen, I believe we become in fact, I know just from experience, we become so much more effective, because now we don't have to worry about commission breath. We don't have to be in that place where the bat meets the ball all the time, trying to be reactive to what happened. Now we're like, okay, I feel, man, my hand's in the right spot. Like, even if I miss, I'm not going to hit. I mean, to be a great success in the MLB, if you hit 200, if you hit three hits out of 10 in major league for your career, you're in the Hall of Fame. That means you failed 7 times. So there's a reason that I use baseball as an analogy, because like life, it's a exercise of failure. Everything is measured from the failure, not from the success. And I think when we change that, and we re-identify, what does failure mean to me? Is it something to be scared of, to avoid all the time? Or is it something where it's like, hey, I see failure, embrace the suck. Let me get in there and immerse myself as fast as I can. I just turned on Siri. Like, I don't know what I did. Hey, Siri, shut up. She's like, no. So listen, it's about how we view things. It starts on the practice field, and then it carries it. And then it carries into the dugout, and then it carries on to the on-deck circle. And then if you're making adjustments in the box, you need to learn from the failure from making those adjustments in the box. Because if you're adjusting in the box, if you get a hit, it's strictly coincidental. If that, it's metaphorical. I hope that makes sense. Does that make sense? Yes. If it does to Leandro, I think it makes sense, because Leandro his primary language is Spanish. So, and I work with a lot of Spanish people in Nicaragua. So I know that if there's an understanding by Leandro, typically most people are going to get it, right? Because it's the bigger challenge for you. Okay, any questions, errors, omissions, additions, cares, concerns, comments, complaints? We don't want, no, unless they're constructive.
I just want to thank you, Matt. What you said, it's going to help me. The beauty of it is I haven't actually talked to the owner. I've talked to everybody in the store. We've been communicating by email.
Right.
Now, when I finally catch her, I'll know the right questions to ask. So thank you.
Yes, you're so welcome. I love that kind of training. It's easier for me because I'm not in the moment, right, Beatrice? I remember everybody like, oh, Pitch, you're like the Svengali. You got all the answers. It's like, wait a minute. If you were sitting here and I was reviewing, it would be easier for you to see because we're at a, it's like the Monday morning quarterback, right? Hindsight's 2020. So it takes people, and that I'll share something with you. We would have a room of, depending on the night or the city, anywhere from 50 to 100 people. And we'd allocate 2 to 3 hours. I mean, we were in that city or in that place for that reason. So we didn't have any place to go. And we offered this hot seat. And we had verifiable metrics of people who never sat in the hot seat, sit in the hot seat, sales. I mean, it was like, if it's 6:30 here, the sun's coming up. It was that predictable. And everybody knew it, Leandro. It wasn't a secret. Nobody questioned the numbers. Everybody knew that if you sat in the hot seat, you were going to get better and you were going to make sales. Do you know what percentage of people actually sat in the hot seat of our organization? Hundreds of people. About 4%. Why? It's the same thing we're talking about. They didn't want to get up in front of a room like you did, Beatrice, and say, hey, I did my best. Here's what I did, and I missed. Help me with that. What do you think that goes back to? Leandro? Self-worth. Somebody said, like, Glenn Brown said there's no dumb question. Glenn, you're absolutely right. You're right. Why do we have to have that saying? Has anybody ever questioned that? Like, why do we have to be told that no question is stupid?
That's a Vivian question.
Probably because not everybody has all the answers.
See,
I don't know.
It's societal. So it doesn't, if I'm in Chicago, if I'm in Washington State, if I'm in South Florida, and I say there's no stupid question, everybody in earshot's going to go, I've heard that. That's right. That's right. The reason it's such a cliche or such a saying or such a given term is because of the static nature of our human condition. I was that kid, you guys. I had Abigail Loretto, who sat next to me in advanced honors geometry at Jesuit High School, or no, at St. John's Episcopal. And I just loved it when she asked her questions because I had the same questions, but she had so much self-worth at that time than I did, that I would hope, has it, by show of hands, ever been there? Man, I hope somebody asks this question because I don't want to look like an idiot. How flawed is that thinking now that we know what we know? Right. And even with that, I still deal with it. We all do. It's not like, oh, I read a book. The switch has been flicked. Now I'm great at it. It doesn't work like that. And it's like anything. It's like any muscle. You stop working on it. You stop reading. You stop associating with right people. You stop engaging in right activities. And everything atrophies. And it's like, not like you're starting over, because I think we, just like muscle, have memory. So if you had it before, it's easier to re-engage it. So I don't think you start over. But there's no arrival. There's no tipping point where you're like, oh, now it just feeds on itself. We always have to constantly be feeding it. And that's why I do these trainings. And that's why we have 14 here live, and we'll have however many, because everybody who watches this is thinking the same thing, maybe not articulate it the same way, but it's like, hey, I want to get better, and I got to engage in certain activities. I want my bicep to get bigger. I better do some curls. Sitting around and complaining why my bicep isn't getting bigger and not going to the gym and doing curls is not doing me any good. But think about that metaphorically. How many times do we do that? I do it. It's that old definition of insanity, right? Continuing the same activity, expecting different results. And we talked about that last week. I have a lot of people, we used to ask for activity plans. And I stopped asking for the exact activity plans. Like, what are you doing each day? What are you doing this? And I started asking, what result are you looking for? What is the end game? And it's going to be different for you. It is me. It is Todd Pope. It's going to be different for everybody. So you got to ask people where they want to go, and then if somebody says, hey, I want to get to this place. So now I know where they want to go. And they go, hey, if somebody called you up and says, hey, how do I get here? What's the first question you're going to ask? Well, where are you? So once they identify where they want to go, we got to identify where they are to give them the proper direction on how to get there. Does that make sense, Leandro? So we want to, you all, associate with you all. Everybody who's here, you're the people that I want to associate with. Why? Because we are of like kind and interest. We're interested in the same things. We're looking for similar results that can vary greatly, but the genre of success and achievement and becoming a better me is pretty broad spectrum, right? So the way we analyze whether our activities are conducive for us is we analyze what result those activities give us. And I used last week, like they use, y'all know that 20 years ago, I learned a lot about alcoholism and drug abuse and so forth and disease. And I think one of the definitions that they told me about disease was when someone understands the negative impact that their activity has on them, yet they continue to do it, right? Like smoking, drinking, gambling, porn, whatever, right? You name it. In fact, workaholics. That's a whole sermon in and of itself. How is an alcoholic different from a workaholic? There are a lot of differences, but there's a lot of similarities, and the impact it has on a family are very similar, right? But one's more societally acceptable than the other. That's, oh boy, we could talk about that and have competing ideas too. You guys know I never like doing sermons. I like having communication. But anyway, any errors, additions, any comments right now? I'm going to take a sip of water. We've covered, it's been a little erratic, but it's been within a contained theme, I think. I have ADD, guys, and that is not that's a gift. When I say that, I'm like, hey, I won this thing. Like, look at it. I'm proud of my ADD, but it does cause some problems sometimes. But I do believe this, our greatest attributes. In fact, I wish we'd gotten the book a little bit because I have some James stories that I'd love to share with you, because I think a growing young boy or a growing young lady and the things that they go through can be so representative, because all of us have been kids and most of us have kids. So I think it's an easy common ground to get to. And one of the things that it talked about was sharing people's positives before you do the negatives, right? And it goes to that thing that I just said, that I really believe that our greatest strengths can serve to be our greatest weaknesses or distractions or inhibitors to our success. And a good example is my son, James. He's the most persistent young man I've ever met in my life, which I love. In fact, it took me a while to learn to not tell him that we were going to do something in like 2 weeks, or I was going to get him something, because he would wear me out. It got to the point where dude, you keep wearing me out, it ain't going to happen. Because he's so persistent. When he gets his mindset on something, man, he will not let up. And it's so frustrating and so brilliant, right? I want my son to go for no. I don't want him to be distracted by, a rejection. I want him to be bigger than, and he is. But I'm like, you got to figure out where and how to use that. Because when your mom says, hey, you're going to school today, and you don't want to go to school, wearing her ass out is not going to serve you well. So and I mean, it fires mom up. It creates this energy. It's in an otherwise very peaceful home, and it's very uncomfortable. But I started it out. Here's how I picked him up. And I said, hey, man, I want you to know that I respect and I admire how stick-to-itive you are when you find something you want, man. You're a bulldog and you go at it. And that is one of your greatest assets. But one of our greatest assets can also be our greatest weaknesses. That's not the first time he's ever heard that. And I said, the way you harness that and the way you use that asset, it can serve to make you extraordinary, because I've never seen a kid at his age be so willing to take a no and keep going. I know adults that don't even want to hear no, much less no. Okay. What? No. What? No. I mean, but have you thought about, but what if he's just trying to find an angle. And I think we're all like that. And I say that for this reason. The strength that we have in our personality can be used to achieve great things, but it also can be our greatest inhibitor. And unless we have a healthy self-worth, right? Unless we understand that the barb of truth of a friend is far more beneficial than the flattery of an enemy, we're able to hear things about ourselves that are more truthful than we want to believe. We're able to associate with those people who hopefully love us enough to be honest with us and their honest assessment and appraisal of who we are and how we impact their life. And if we develop ourselves, that's when things start really happening. And I am getting corny today, because I do I don't want people on the fence. I want to pull you, but if not, I want to push you, right? Because being on the fence, it's almost like you get placated because you think like, oh, I'm kind of doing the right thing. And you get more frustrated because you're not really doing the right thing, but you have some expectations that's greater than if you were completely on the other side of the fence. Because now you're attending a meeting, right? Now you might have read a little bit of a book. You're doing things you wouldn't have done before. So I say all that to say I want to encourage those that find value in really analyzing how we approach life, which is all this is. I mean, it's all it is. And I'll shut up with this, and I don't know why it seems ADD abstract, but Abe Lincoln says that most people are about as happy as they set their mind to be. Most people are about as happy as they set their mind to be. So I think in a group like this, and when we're reading and when we're learning, the one thing that we don't talk a lot about is we're empowering ourselves. Even innately, everyone who's going through this process, me included, we're subconsciously empowering ourselves with more knowledge and more understanding of us. And that gives us more self-worth, which gives us some detachment from the reactive, chaotic life that we live, right? And once we begin to understand our tendencies, once we begin to understand that when I walk into ABC, I want you to sell CBD store, and I might be in there to show the light of Jesus for me and my faith. I might be in there just to flash a smile or give a compliment from what we're learning, right? Find ways to compliment people. It might be a business owner, and I say, hey, tell me about your business, and they get inspired by reliving why they started it. I mean, when we see things from a different perspective other than our own selfish desires, that's when life changes. And I say that you guys know me well enough, man. I haven't mastered anything in my life, certainly not this. And that's why I'm always better in church when I'm teaching a class, because it makes me study. Right? It'd be like if I told you tomorrow I'm gonna meet you at 10 a.m. at the gym, whether I want to go, Leandro, I'm gonna go because I know you're gonna be there. I don't want you standing around going, where the heck's Pitts? Right? It's kind of the same thing with this, right? It's like if I know that I'm here to train someone or train people, or if someone's interested, it causes me to read. But if you're not gonna be there and I wake up tomorrow hungover, maybe I don't go. If I don't have this meeting on Thursday, maybe I don't read the last bit of this book for the third time. But the fact that I did was so rewarding to me. The last couple, if you guys have noticed, I've kind of deviated away from the book because it got a little mundane. It was like, yeah, I got one principle and 18 examples of it, but then we get to the back and it's like this last little bit, this part 4. Man, if you don't read anything else, you read part 4. It is only, I read it today, actually, again, for the third time. And it's only 40 pages. I say only. I know that some of you guys don't read, and 40 is a lot. It's 40 pages. Let's just do that. Let me not put an adjective on it. But man, I tell you this, it's not a summation, but it's like, if you know this, you got an edge. I'm telling you, if you know these 40 pages, you got an edge on, you tell me what the number is. I'd say it's 95% of the people in the world. I think there's a reason there's that 5 and 4%, Leandro, that I mentioned earlier. I really do. And I believe if you read this, we'll go over it next week. We're going to take some questions, but we're going to be more intentional on finishing the book. And let's open the floor. It's 4:01. Oh my gosh, Leandro. See, I'm not getting better. I'm getting worse. I'm digressing. I should be on point right now, man. Okay. So here's a book that my buddy Bill gave me Saturday when we played golf. He just read this. Chick-fil-A had this doctor come in, and they always do. I've been to several of them. That's how I got to know Andy Andrews. Remember the guy I told you about last week? I'm going to read, I'd probably read this whole thing before next, more so for Bill, because he's my good buddy and I want to talk to him about it. I typically wouldn't read that much in a week. I'm not trying to be that guy. But I'll probably read this. But either way, I'll read a good chunk of it, and I'll have a good understanding of whether I like this book for teaching, for training, because some of them are not great. I know this one's got some deep concepts based on the stuff that Bill and I talked about on the golf course. The other one is The Noticer by Andy Andrews. He wrote The Traveler's Gift. If anybody's read that, amazing book. Oh, I mean it, because it does like historical reference, 5 historical real references, like Anne Frank. Like he hangs out with, like they travel through time and hang out with these people. Oh, it's unbelievable. Anyway, called The Noticer. I have not read it. And then Dave Anderson is another guy. And I haven't even looked at the book's reviews. I have read a couple of Dave Anderson's books. I will tell you, he's a little bit more curt. He is in your face. He's, here's the mindset of a loser. Here's the mindset of an underachiever. The name of the book, and the only reason I even think about it because I like him a lot, but I love the name of the book, and it is The Intentional Mindset. And we talk here in staff, in corporate, we talk about intentionality all the time. Like that is a big thing for us. It's hard to inspect what you don't expect. So to have real expectation is to be very intentional. So I like that. So if you guys, I know who's going to chime in, and hopefully a few new people will. If you have any experiences with these books, those of you who are watching online or live, please let me know. I'd love to hear it. I haven't read any of these three. If you do a little research, people, of faith and so forth, you get a little, gut feeling is what we'll call it for corporate training purposes. Let me know. I'd love to know if we get those feelings too, because I think, and I'm going to do a different approach no matter what book we do. It's not going to be chapter for chapter. Like on this one, if we got to it, which we will next week, and it's good. We got to tease next week, man. Next week is going to be powerful. This last module is powerful. So we'll go through this we'll have an intentional mindset next week, and we'll go through this. If you guys don't mind kind of researching these books, if you have any opinions, please let me know. I'll do my own. Leandro, you'll help out a little bit.
Post them on the chat.
Yeah, and I think, and if you have an idea of another book, these are the three that kind of were ushered into me. And I do, for those of you who don't know me all that well, I do let things come to me a little bit. I'll do some meditation, some prayer, and like, hey, this is what I'm looking for. And I did that with respect to what book we should do next. And I thought we had it narrowed down to the two until Saturday, and Bill brought this up. And so now we have three. And it could be four. If you're led to another book, please let me know. I don't have any emotion or pride of authorship to the selection. And I have no relationships with any publishers. So I'm not going to be making any money on whatever we do too.
Vivian said, how about Think and Grow Rich?
Oh, John Maxwell, one of my favorites, man. Vivian, done. Just because I love that book so much. No, no. I know who you're talking. I know what you're talking about. Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill. Yes. Oh, I have probably 8. That would be easy because I think I have 8 copies because I trained on that book like 5 years ago, and I bought a huge box and I only sold a few, right? Because I thought everybody bought them. So Vivian, I actually have extra copies of that. Which would be good. I will tell you that it is on the list, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, but I kind of want to read a new book. So I may selfishly, Vivian, in fact, you, me, and a few others, maybe we can do a Think and Grow Rich thing, but I got to do a new book too. Or maybe not. Again, got to take the big guy, see what he says about it. I don't want to get in front of him. All right, listen, we're way over. This actually is pretty indicative of how my mind works. It's just all over the place. I hope it was cohesive enough for us to get some things out of it. Thank you so much, Beatrice. I love these interactions. I think that kind of hot seat approach is going to be very helpful. Hopefully you guys will be looking at interactions throughout the week that maybe we can share next week. Again, we're going to flip the script. I'm going to be more intentional to this, but I'm not going to negate that kind of hot seat experience because I think there's so much practical value and real up-to-date worldly value to those sessions. So anybody, if you want to get out of your comfort zone, you want to impress me, which is not all that hard to do, just do something you don't enjoy doing. I remember, and I'll close with this, we love people to speak publicly at my old vocation. And the worst thing you could ever do is tell me that you didn't want to speak in front of a room. You know the first thing you were doing? Speaking in front of a room. Because I knew that if I could get somebody off that comfort zone station, that growth starts happening. Either they retract right back or they keep moving. And most of the time people keep moving because if I came in contact with them, they already wanted something more. It's not like I was going and trying to sign people up. Like I had people come in like, hey, I want this. So I would say 95% of them, man, they just kind of kept going and they lost sight of where their comfort zone stopped and where it started. And that's when they really blew up. So do your 30-second lives this week. Go talk to people you've been reluctant to talk to. Embrace the suck. Seek to get to that place that everyone else is running from. One of the things I tell my son all the time is, if you want to be successful in life, you better damn sure be willing to do things other people are not. And we know a lot of people are unwilling to get out of their comfort zone. So that one activity of getting out of your comfort zone is going to differentiate you from a mass majority of people. ergo giving you an edge, giving you an up, giving you a, and it, right? Now I'm getting excited. I wish we had another hour. I may just preach to you for an hour. In fact, let me preach to Leandro for another hour. We'll let you guys go. Hey, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Love you guys. Hey, if this is helpful to you, please share it with other people. We just want to help people grow and get better. And, we all sell CBD. That's what I do for a living. But honestly, this is bigger than that. And I believe that if we put people ahead of our profits, that the profits will absolutely come. It's just, I'm a living example, guys. I'm a living example. Thank you very much. New people, love you. Let's go get it. Hey, Matthew, MATTHEW, at CBD BioCare. If you have any questions, you have a direct line to the CEO, please let me know. If I can't answer it, I'll get somebody who can. Right, Leandro? You good? All right. Leandro is waving goodbye to everybody. See you, everybody.